Welcome to Web Certain TV. My guest today is David Carolan, who's the Head of International SEO for Career Builder, and we're going to talk about some of the technical issues and challenges around SEO when it comes to large websites. So hi David, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. So the technical aspects of SEO are just as important as the content on a website in terms of how well it will perform and achieve all of the business goals. So what do you think are the most fundamental and important aspects kind of to get right when you're working on SEO?
There are many, certainly. I would say that probably the most important technical fundamental is accessibility, together with discoverability. Both terms or both fundamentals go together because of the need to try and make the content, the full extent, complete content of the website discoverable and fully accessible in order for it to be indexable. So I'd say that that's probably the main fundamental of dealing with large technical, with large international websites.
And when it comes to international websites, that's obviously slightly different challenges. So are there anything different to think about from a technical perspective?
Probably the most important technical aspects or technical factors of dealing with large international websites are, first of all, the need to have a solid, very well structured architecture. So you need to try and get the content properly structured with different categories and different layers of information, and everything needs to be in the best possible way shallow and scannable and accessible. That's, like I said earlier, one fundamental that is also a very good, very important technical factor. Another one is the need to try and avoid having duplicate content.
Yeah.
This is a very typical issue in large websites, and there are many different types of duplicate content, and this can be something that can hamper the overall accessibility of the website and for the content to be discovered and obviously for the website to be able to perform better on the search engines. So those two things are quite important, together with the need to try and your website, your content accessible for mobile users as well and for different devices. So if you have a mobile platform or a mobile website versus a desktop website, you need to make sure that the two websites are interlinked together so that both users, mobiles and desktops, are able to find the information. Those are three technical factors. And then from an international SEO point of view, you need to make sure that the content, the website structure is defined in a way that makes sense for your geo-targeting strategy. So depending on many other factors like budget or ambition, strategy, you may want to define your website in one way or another. CCTLDs versus folder structures, and then have your hreflang tags well set up.
Yeah,
that's also very important.
So definitely a lot to think about.
There is probably more. For example, sitemaps. Being able to have a good sitemap structure accompanying your website, that's also very important. And I say structure because often it's not just enough with having one single sitemap file. Okay. If you are dealing with a really large website, what you probably want is to have your sitemap segmented so that each specific segment of your website is represented on a different sitemap.
Yeah.
And this gives you a lot of visibility and flexibility in terms of being able to analyze your content and know exactly what the different errors and issues are coming from. So having your sitemap well structured and well defined can really help you track down a lot of issues.
Okay. And audits are also a good way of doing that. So why is it important to perform regular audits on your website?
So it's very important to run regular audits because as time goes by, there are many different teams touching the website and feeding information into the website. There's some marketing campaigns going on, so things change. The technical platform changes. The conversion of the marketing team is making changes as well. So at some point, quite a lot of people actually touching the website, so things can go wrong very quickly unless you keep up the audits, the regular audits coming in to try and make sure that you're not leaving anything behind. Even if you're working with those teams, you may actually not realize, but as a result of something being implemented on the website, subdomains changing places or campaign landing pages that were there not being moved elsewhere, the conversion rate optimization team making all the changes. So it really helps you have a stronger and better visibility as to what's going on the website after a certain time, and identify and spot issues in order to be able to go back and fix them. So yeah, it's very, very important. Also, search engines, the search engine landscape keeps changing, so things are moving fast. So there are often things that you were not doing 6 months ago or a year ago, which you want to start doing now. So yeah, it's very, very important to run regular audits.
And what should you be looking for in these audits? What are the key things you want to pull out of? Because there's a lot of data that you get from them.
That's a very good question, actually. So the most important thing, there are many things obviously, but one of the most important things is you want to make sure that every single piece of unique content on your website is sitting on a compliant URL, on a URL that delivers a 200 HTTP header message, and that there are no non-compliant pages, such as pages that are being not indexed or being redirected or having different canonicals. So all these different errors together with server errors, like you may have a 521 server error that means that there is an issue on certain pages. You may have a whole set of 404s being triggered as a result of something that has happened on the website. You may have some issues with your sitemaps not being found on the structure. Mobile issues as well. There is actually quite a lot of issues that you may bump into after a technical audit.
And what tools can you use to kind of help with the audit process and help you look at the information you're getting back?
So in terms of tools, I tend to, things have changed a lot in the last few years. Like actually they have changed dramatically. About 10 years ago, most enterprise SEOs were using Xenu, which was a tool to crawl websites, really archaic, but it was doing a very good job at the time. And Screaming Frog arrived on the landscape, so everyone embraced it and started using it. They had great access to the data that SEOs really wanted, so everyone started embracing Screaming Frog. So I use it a lot to produce sometimes segment sitemaps and for other things. But truly, when you're dealing with really large size, the problem is that crawler struggles because it's desktop based. So what you're actually looking for is web-based crawlers that can help you sort of crawl a website in a timely manner, very quickly, in a couple of hours, 3 hours, or maybe just one day. And have much more visual sort of representation reports on your issues. So when it comes to having to crawl these large websites, web-based crawlers do a much better job. So in my case, for example, I use Botify, which is a French startup that arrived about 3-4 years ago, and it's a great tool. I just like the whole idea of how they interpret, or the whole concept around how they actually deal with compliant URLs and non-compliant URLs, and the whole crawler is just based around that concept, the concept of compliancy versus non-compliancy. And at the same time, the reports they add to the tool are fantastic. They are really real game changers. They allow me to save so much time, because in sort of like a question of seconds, I'm able to see sometimes the issues that are truly affecting a specific corner of the website. Whereas before with the traditional crawlers, you needed to just download all the data first on a spreadsheet and
then work it out.
So Botify is one of the tools I use the most lately. And another two tools that I'm actually using a lot lately are SEMRush and Ahref. They're not actually conceived to be site auditors, but they have very good site auditing features. both SEMRush and as well Ahrefs, which is mainly a backlink profile analysis tool, but that it's also added some really good functionality in terms of website analysis in the last couple of years. So I use those two a lot as well to contrast the information with the one that I get with Botify.
And, conducting audits is kind of one step, possibly the first step, but how do you then kind of transfer what you find from the audit into actual actions for the website?
Yeah, this is probably the toughest part, to actually spot the issues and think, oh wow, I got this whole number of redirects or redirect chains, and I have all this list of 404s, and it's easy to just jump into kind of conclusions and say, well, I'm gonna just deal with all these 404s and redirect them onto this category part of the website. But I think it's at some point it's best to take a little bit of time sometimes and go into trying to find out the reasons why those issues are actually there, and try and solve those issues, and try to get to the root of the problem instead of precipitating into finding a solution for those errors. So yeah, it's about just taking a sort of holistic approach in terms of tackling all the different issues, put them together, and think about why things happen, and also think about lots of different solutions to work out which one you should go for first.
I think
does that answer your question?
It does, yeah. Right. Yeah, I was just going to say that's often as well. There's so many things to look at. It's how do you choose which ones are going to have the most impact, and which
Absolutely,
you should prioritize.
Yeah. You are well right. It's all about impact. It's all about which one you can go first for that can achieve the best impact. If you're working on short-term goals, if you're working more strategically, and you want to have a set of actions being taken in order to get to a sort of resolution, then perhaps all what you're looking for or what you're after is a sequence in order to sort of be able to solve the issues in a coordinated manner and have greater impact in the long term. It really depends what the business business is after. Sometimes they're just after a short-term gain.
Yeah.
So it's all a question of strategy, and those strategic objectives, how to go for them.
And then, so a kind of headache for SEOs for many years has been getting other people within the business, outside of the SEO, to really understand the impact and the importance of it. Do you think that's got better, or do you think it's still a big challenge to kind of make other people believe that it's an important investment?
I think it's got a lot better in terms of a lot more people understand now the value of trying to get the website, trying to get the SEO right on the website. And there is a lot more investment being thrown into, being put into SEO. There is a lot more investment being put into SEO, which helps. There is a lot more interest. There are a lot more marketing profiles that kind of have the required skill of understanding and knowing SEO or being SEO knowledgeable, which is a good thing for the industry. I've actually ended up seeing in the last 2-3 years a whole set of new SEO jobs being created in LinkedIn. So even though there is this kind of even though there is this kind of general feeling that SEO is gonna die at some point, what I can see is something totally different, because there is even more jobs than we had like 3-4 years ago. Mm-hmm. I think it's a good momentum for the industry. There are still some challenges, of course, and things that are still have not changed for the better. Like for example, I still see a huge disproportionate amount of budgets being allocated to paid search or paid advertising for the most, and often just a tiny bit for the SEO, which is a shame, because often you can see and you can demonstrate with figures that conversion rates are actually much greater on SEO traffic than on other sort of forms of traffic. Yet this is still an area that requires a lot of evangelizing.
I guess
and effort,
it's a lot of getting the quick wins. You see the wins much quicker with the paid campaign that brings, is what people go for sometimes.
You hit the nail on the head. Yeah, it's very easy for marketing teams to be able to justify the expenditure because of the quick return that they are able to provide. Whereas with SEO is kind of tough, because often
takes a long time.
Even like a year or so, it really is tougher, But yeah, this, in generally speaking, it's a very good momentum. I think it's much better than it used to be 5-6 years ago.
Yeah, good. Well, that's a good sign for everybody then.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.